Hey, what's going on? Doc Danny here with the PT Entrepreneur Podcast. And today I want to share a book with you that I read that it's my favorite book I read this year. And now, book recommendations can be very subjective because oftentimes it depends on your own context, where you're at in your life, the things you're dealing with, the things you're trying to learn, the things that resonate with you. It could be fiction, it could be nonfiction, whatever it might be. I used to read a lot more than I do now, which unfortunately my reading habits have died off some, but I still try to get through a book a month is my goal. I used to try to do a book a week, which was a lot, but I'll try to get through one a month. And sometimes I get through half and I just stop, which is actually more common than me finishing one. But the book that I recently read that has been my favorite book this year is called The Art of Spending Money by Morgan Housel. Now, Morgan Housel's written a few books. I like all of his books. In fact, I recommend The Psychology of Money, which is his first book, to almost everybody that we work with that asks me a finance question. So I run a finance call for PT Biz. I do this every single month, and we dive into finance topics. We'll look at P&Ls. We'll talk through different finance variations of leveraging loans and financing and expansion, payroll things. Everything has to do with finance in your business. And so I get a lot of questions about this stuff. And I always recommend, for a lot of people, they struggle with money mindset, right? And like the way they view their own value. It's a huge problem within our profession. And The Psychology of Money, written by Morgan Housel a few years ago, is a book that I usually recommend. Now, this is a new book for him, came out very recently. And The Art of Spending Money is I think it's a deceiving title. So I like this book so much, I was talking about it, and my wife decided she would read it as well. And we were talking about it this morning. She's almost done with it. And she goes, I don't think it should be titled The Art of Spending Money. I think it should be titled How to Not Be Miserable, basically, like the art of not being miserable. And it's because it has some to do with money, but more to do about the decisions we make around it and how we perceive that, and being self-aware enough of the decisions that we're making so that we can end up, being content, being happy, being fulfilled. And whether we like it or not, we have to deal with money in the world. It's how we pay for things. It's how we get reimbursed for the value we provide to other people. And if you don't have any money, or you're terrible with money, it can create a lot of stress in your life. So especially with entrepreneurs, as we are charging for what we do, we're building businesses, we're hiring people, we're paying their salaries. Like, we have to get really comfortable with our own perception of money and also the usage of it as a tool. But there were two sections in it in particular that I thought were like really applicable to physical therapists that we work with. And if you're listening to this, I think that this will be beneficial for you. You can go read the book if you would like, but these are two sections that I think, I read and I was like, man, these really resonate. So one is a section called, May I Have Your Attention, Please? Okay. And the whole point of this is about where do you direct your attention. So where you direct your attention shapes the happiness that you have associated with your life. So think of it this way. Imagine that you have a clinic that is doing $500,000 in revenue annually. You're showing good growth. You're profitable. You like the team that you have. You have a cool culture. You have a unique niche that you're working with, and you get a lot of enjoyment out of your business. Then all of a sudden, you meet another clinic owner, and they're doing $2 million a year. Now, what do most people do? Well, they start to direct their attention to, oh, dang, I'm not doing $2 million a year. I must suck at this. Like, what is going on? Like, it's deflating for you to meet somebody who's ahead of you in business on these objective numbers of revenue. And then we start to compare where we're at to where they're at. And let's just say they're $2 million and they started at the exact same time as you. It's like salt in a wound. It's the worst. You're just like, dang it. What the heck did I do wrong? Here's the thing. You don't know the first thing about their backstory, the context of how they got started. What did they do before that? Did they have any support from investors, family, friends? Do they have some advantages that you don't have? Do they have a different family dynamic and lifestyle? Or do they have the ability to take bigger risks? Do they have safety nets that you may not have? Do they just have more ambition and valued things differently than you do? They may be at $2 million a year, but their physical health has suffered dramatically and they have terrible relationships with everybody around them. And you're at $500,000 a year and you're in great health and you have people around you that you spend a lot of time with and you really enjoy. Who's winning? It depends. How do you gauge that? What's important to you? But if you want to be miserable, keep comparing yourself to everybody around you and focus your attention on what you haven't done yet. And you will feel pretty damn bad because of that. All right. So in order to, be happy, in order to feel like you're grateful for where you're at, you have to really just understand that you're running your own race and your goals are your goals and your life is unique to you. And what you're doing is unique to what you want to do as well. It's great to have people around you can view as examples of what's possible. In fact, this is a huge part of what makes our mastermind group so powerful. When they get together, people get a chance to see what's possible with other people. And it's very motivating in a lot of ways. It can also be somewhat defeating for people depending on the lens they look through it. So the second section was titled The Happiest People I Know. Okay. So this is the difference between things that bring fulfillment and what we think will. And this is where you have to really understand what your goals are for your life and understand that your business is there to support the life that you want. Like it's the vehicle to then get the life that you want. More often than not, the business becomes the business owner's life. Let me say that one more time because this is incredibly important for you to understand the difference. Businesses should be the vehicle to get the life that you want, the creation of time, financial freedom, whatever that looks like to you. The normal path for business owners is their business becomes their life. They're obsessed with it. They spend all their time thinking about it, all their time working on it, and it's because it is their new fixation, their new thing that they can compete in. It's also tied to monetary income and reimbursement. It's like the more successful your business is, the more money you have. But would you rather be a clinic owner that's working 60 hours a week and you're making $300,000 in income? Or would you rather be a clinic owner that's working 30 hours a week and is making $200,000 in income? It's up to you. There's no right answer. It just depends on what you want your life to look like. You might say, I'll take the extra $100,000. Like, I don't mind dropping the extra 30 hours a week into the business and working hard. That sounds like an ideal fit for me. Someone else who has 3 kids and he wants to coach their teams and wants to be involved in their community. They want that extra 30 hours back and they want to pour it into other things that are of value to them. And it's not worth the exchange of the extra $100,000. Or here's a good example. We see people scale and grow and have success, and they keep saying yes to things that grow their business, even though it's taking away more of their time and attention. It's adding more risk to what they've already created. And for what? For something that doesn't meaningfully change their life? And for other people, it's the right decision to make because their goal might be to have a platform business of clinics that they can sell because they want to have this big financial exit for whatever reason. And I'm not saying one decision is right or wrong, but more often than not, what I see is people don't know why they're doing what they're doing. They're just doing it because it's hard for them to say no to opportunity. It's harder for them to say no to staff that are telling them like, hey, I want to run a new clinic. Let's build another one. Well, that might not actually line up with what you want. And maybe you lose that person because of that, but you have to understand what your goals are and what you're saying yes to. Because when you say yes to anything, you're saying no to other things. If you're saying, yes, I want to work 30 more hours a week and make another $100,000 in the year, I'm saying no to dropping my kids off at school every day. I'm saying no to coaching my kids' basketball teams. I'm saying no to training 5 days a week and staying physically healthy. You have to realize there's a finite amount of time. And the people that are the happiest, the people that are the most content, are the people that make decisions based on alignment with where they're trying to go. The people that feel frustrated and almost like they're trapped are people that have made decisions based on, in many cases, monetary, small improvements in their life for things that don't make a meaningful change in their lifestyle. And the biggest thing, and this is from the first book, by the way, and they touch on this again in this one, the biggest thing that happens for most people when they start to have success, and you may be guilty of this as well, I definitely have done this myself, is that you end up moving the goalpost. Your lifestyle creep happens, meaning as you start to make more income, you start to grow into a lifestyle that absorbs that income. So in many ways, you don't have a choice but to say yes to these things that will add additional revenue to your take home, to income to your life, because you've now absorbed more income on a monthly basis in these other things, this bigger house, this nicer car, this private school, these more elaborate vacations, these things that you spend money on that maybe you find a lot of value in, maybe you don't. Maybe you just do them because it's what people around you are doing. And that's what we call moving the goalpost. So if you're constantly moving the goalpost, you're going to constantly have to make more money, and you're constantly going to have to trade more time or take more risk in order to get there. So if you have this goal of, wanting to be able to do something like, for instance, make $500,000 in income and be able to live in a certain type of home and your kids go to a certain type of school and all, like, be intentional about that. That is your goal. That's personal to you. No one else can tell you what your life should look like. Nobody. But what if you could make the same amount of money, but live a lifestyle well below that and put yourself in a position where you never have to work again, whether your business sells or not, within a few years? That, in many ways, is wealth. The ability to say no to things, the ability to get out of the trap of having to continue to grind and trade time for money. Or just the ability to say, I'm good. I like what I've built. I like this clinic at the size that it's at. I enjoy the team size that I have. This is something that's sustainable for me, something that I really enjoy. The culture is what I want. I want to keep it this way on purpose. And we've all been to places, like even like restaurants, right? Like some restaurants have been around forever. Like there's a restaurant here in Atlanta my friend used to work at. This celebrated its 45th year in business. That's a hard thing to do for a restaurant, and it hasn't changed. The size of it hasn't changed. The branding hasn't changed. I'm sure the menu has changed to some degree, but like probably not by much. And for 45 years, they've just been consistent. They've been doing the same thing. The owner is happy. Like it's a staple in the area. You could decide that that's what you want to do, right? You want to have a clinic that's going to be, constantly trying to be excellent with the people that you work with and progressing clinically, progressing with your knowledge base, progressing with how you're helping people get outcomes and staying up to date on the newest research and trends within the space. But maybe you don't grow past where you're at. Maybe you're totally fine with that. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, because it's your personal choice if you decide to do that. Versus for somebody else, that might sound like a trap to them and they're miserable because they have these big growth goals. They want to test themselves on a higher level on the business side. It's okay. But what is it to you? What's going to make you happy? That is an intentional decision that you have to make. And you can't make it based off of what other people around you are doing. And you can't look at other people and be miserable because you're not quite where they're at. Because comparison is the thief of joy, period. And, if you keep doing that, you're going to feel pretty crappy about where you're at forever, because you're always going to be able to find somebody that's bigger than you. Oh, this person has a $2 million clinic. I need to get to a $2 million clinic. Next thing you know, you see somebody who has a $5 million clinic. Well, shit, I'm not at 5, I'm at 2. Well, I better get to 5. Then you get to 5. Then you meet somebody who has a $10 million clinic. Well, damn, I still suck. I need to get to 10. You get to 10, you meet somebody who has a $100 million clinic, a $1 billion group of clinics. Like, there's no end to it. There's no end. It doesn't matter. Like, you got to realize what you're trying to do. And then you have to reverse engineer that, period. All right. And if you can not change your lifestyle a ton along the way, you are going to create financial stability for yourself, where you have what we call no thank you money, and you can say no to doing things, and you can prioritize doing the things that you really value the most, whether they are ROI positive to you on paper or not. So I hope that this message resonates with you. This was a very, very helpful book for me. Like, I just like this stuff a lot. Maybe you find this boring. You're not at that sort of stage where you can even think about this stuff. But the earlier you start thinking about where you're trying to go, what race you're running. This is a big part of what we talk about at PT Biz. People understanding what race that they're running, and not comparing themselves to other people. Like, if you're running a 10K and someone else is running a marathon, you can't compare your pacing to them. You can't compare your training to them. You can't compare anything really, right? I mean, aside the fact you're both running, but you may have completely different goals. Somebody might just be trying to complete a 10K. Somebody might be trying to PR a marathon, right? Like, the different paces and speeds and lots of things. You got to know what race you're running, why you're doing it. And once you understand that, man, your decisions become a lot easier with what you're going to say yes and no to. And that is, in many cases, the hardest part when you start to have success, because success breeds more opportunity, and more opportunity breeds more things that you have to say yes or no to. And it's hard to say no to things that are potentially great opportunities for you, but might be in exchange of a massive amount of time that you have to say that you're going to commit to, where you have to say no to other things that might be far more important to you at this stage. So get the book if it sounds like something you're interested in. I hope this resonates with you. Be intentional about the things you say yes and no to. Otherwise, you might end up living a life that you didn't sign up for.